What up, guys? So today we got a question from Jill, who's a relatively new black belt, and recently she shared a video of mine where I was talking about don't be, the person who lectures someone out of their submissions, where you're getting submitted and then you start trying to tell the person and instruct them on what they should be doing. I did a video on that. If you want to watch it, I'll put it down in the links below. And she was saying it had happened to her, but she said, I have a question. She says, as a black belt rolling with students, in your opinion, are there situations where you do pause mid-roll to fix something, different motivation, but possibly similar effect on certain people? And so I asked her, kind of trying to get the question a little bit more clear in my mind. I said, so are you curious where the line is between coaching to help someone and being, annoying? And she said, exactly. And this is because she's in that position of black belt now and she wants to help people along the way, but she doesn't want to come across as annoying, right? So Jill, thanks for the question. Let's talk about it. I'll tell you about the idea that I have as far as how to transmit those little seeds of knowledge that you have to people and how to get them to be receptive to them. And then we'll talk about kind of where the line is, right? So first off, let's talk about you. You are a black belt, you're accomplished in competitions, you know what you're doing, right? And so you have a lot of knowledge that you can potentially share. And so you get these little seeds of knowledge that you would like to give to people along the way. Any teacher, I think, would probably agree with this, that in order for the knowledge to truly stick, to stay with someone, the student has to be receptive to it, right? So the student who is receiving this information, they have to be receptive to it. And for different reasons, sometimes they're not. One, they could be like thick-skulled, like I used to be a little bit thick-skulled when I was a little bit younger, right? Kind of resistant to it. I don't want to do this. But then other times it's just because it doesn't have any significance. It's not concrete. Why do I need that? Many of us experience that in school where we're taught lots of information and we remember very little of it because it has no meaning to us. It's abstract information that has no reason to be remembered, right? So what I like to do, if it's a mid-roll kind of instruction situation that you're talking about, what I like to do is I like to plow the field, so to speak, so this way the person is receptive to the little seed that I'm going to plant with them. Here's an example of it that happened just the other day, Joe. I'm rolling with my guy, one of my students, Joey. Joey and I are rolling. Joey comes up for a half guard sweep. And I'm kind of watching what he's doing, right? Because right now I have no competitions coming up, so I'm kind of seeing what some of my guys are doing and making critiques. He rolls under for a sweep and he misses a very important grip, and so I crush him and pass his guard. And then immediately I come back and say, hey man, let's go ahead and I need you to grab this particular grip and then try that real quick. We practiced it a couple times just to get a feel for it. I was like, okay, now let's start back in position where you were in the half guard and let's work from there. And then as he's working from the half guard, I sort of dial down my intensity level a little bit so this way he can play a little bit and he can see what it feels like to do the move correctly. And he did, and he's like, oh, there it is. Light bulb moment for him, right? And so that process is what I tend to do most often during those mid-roll teaching sessions. If someone is doing something wrong, I will try to let them become very aware of the fact that they're wrong and let them see the mistake being made, right? So let's say as another example, someone was holding my head, I would take their, they were doing a headlock, I would take their back and choke them, opposed to telling them, hey, you're doing it wrong, you're not supposed to be holding my head this way, right? I think that's when it becomes kind of annoying because, for most of us, if we're rolling, we're kind of like, well, if it's working, if it's not supposed to work, why can't you just counter it or why can't you stop it? In the video that I shared before, it was like I was putting a guy in a key lock and submitting him, but he's telling me I'm doing the key lock wrong, but at the same time, he's not stopping it. I would have been far more receptive to him if I was trying to key lock him and he just escaped. And I'm like, damn, I can't hit this key lock. And he's like, the reason why I'm escaping is because you're doing X. But that wasn't the situation, right? And so I think that if you can bring the person's mistake to light and let them feel that mistake and go, oh man, I'm messing up here. And then you go right back and say, let me show you the solution. They become receptive to it because the teaching, the seed of knowledge that you're giving them now has some sort of concreteness to it. It's not so abstract. It has a purpose. It means something, right? It's the idea of information ahead of time versus information in the nick of time. Information that we need or want gets stuck. It'll get stuck in our brains and we'll use it, right? So that would be my sort of recommendation there. When people are making mistakes, make them painfully aware of their mistakes and then go right back, make the adjustment, let them feel what it feels like to do it correctly, with maybe a little resistance, and then go about the rolling. I think that's a far more important thing because, as a black belt, you understand this, Jill, we could literally go to someone and we could give them like the 75-point checklist of all the things that they could possibly do in their game, right? They're not going to remember any of it. But if I take something you're already doing, like Joey plays half guard. So I'm taking something Joey's already working on and I give you one critique, one important detail that makes an impact on that particular move, that can be game changing. I've had my game radically altered by small adjustments over the years. Like a black belt, will do that thing where maybe as a purple belt, the black belt be like, you're grabbing like this. Why don't you grab like this, like 2 inches over? And instantly it's like the choke works. You're like, this is so stupid. Why didn't I do this before? But all of a sudden now I have this choke that I've never been able to hit. Now I hit it all the time, right? So you can make some really radical changes in someone's game like that. Now, as far as when it's sort of annoying or when you're crossing the line, I really think it comes down to where does it come from in you, right? And that's that's more of a virtue and character thing, right? You have to check yourself there because let's say that someone's getting the better of you and you want to start giving them instructions or you want to criticize them for using too much strength. Oh, you're using too much strength. You be more technical, right? And by the way, the next time someone tells you, if any of you guys ever get criticized for using too much strength and it's someone who's of comparable weight to you in strength and size, like if you're like 250 pounds, and you're ragdolling some 120-pound person, maybe you are using too much strength. But assuming it's like you're a big guy, they're a big guy, you're a big woman, and you're using a little strength, and you get criticized for it, tell them to be like they say, hey, stop being so strong. Be like, well, be more technical. If technique's supposed to conquer everything, be more technical. But I think that's where the line is. It's like, when is it you're actually trying to help this person versus when are you doing it to sort of not bruise your ego? Are you lecturing this person out of their technique because you're feeling kind of bad that you're getting beat by them? Or you're like, man, I really want to help this person? I think that's the line. And I think that most people will be receptive to it if you really are trying to help them versus trying to simply get out of something because you're getting beat, right? And that, again, is going to come from you. And it's a far more sort of internal, like you have to observe your character and the virtues that you're displaying in that situation or the lack thereof. So anyway, Jill, hopefully that helps you with your question as you are a newer black belt and growing into that new belt and becoming a little bit more comfortable sort of passing on the information with everybody. But good luck to you and thanks for the question.